Everybody doing today? Hope life is good. Hope everything's going well. Actually, hope everything's going great. Better than well. Topic came up with one of my coworkers this morning. It's morning where I was at. Where I'm at right now, it's morning time. But we was talking about kids, and I got 6 boys. Yes, 6 boys. I got 1 by my ex, and I got 5 by my wife. And raising boys, I heard this is different between raising girls and boys. But raising boys, I just inserted in raising them what I was lacking from my real father, my biological father, because he wasn't there. So I always said, when I have my kids, I'm gonna make sure I'm there in my kid's life. My first son was taken from me. I had him up until he was 3 years old, and then the mother, she wasn't from where I'm from, and she said her mom was having complications with cancer, and she wanted to see our son, which she was 3 at the time. So I said, yeah, go ahead, go ahead, take him out of town. And she took him out of town and ran with him. So, I went and filed charges and tried to do everything I needed to do legally. And I was told, because I wasn't the custodian parent, that even though she gave me a fake address where she went to, when she kept the address on and the phone number on, I called there, spoke with her for the first week or 2, and then she went offline with that. And then going into the second week, third week, I went by her old place. She cleaned out her old place, talked to the landlord there. She said that she had dissolved her lease. And that's when I knew I got screwed. And like I said, I went to the courts to try to file what I needed to file with the courts to see if they could help me out. And I wanted to press kidnapping charges because I had joint custody. As soon as my son was born, as soon as my son came into the earth, the next day I went down there and filed for joint custody because I wanted to make sure I'd be there. I wanted to make sure my son understood and it just felt like the most empowering thing as a father you can do, if you're not married to the young lady and y'all not together, is to make sure you establish that joint custody. But furthermore, when it came down to it, what I found out was I wasn't the custodian parent. And even though she had a court order to notify the court when she leaves state, it has to be pretty much co-signed and approved by the courts, I still didn't have any rights. So I was, because I didn't have an address to send a warrant for her to just come and just show, she had to come to court. She had a court order to come, a court order to show and explain to the court why she took off and left the state without the court's permission. So, long story short, I was told by my attorney that as long as she don't have an address where they can serve her, we gotta pretty much rely on her being stopped in traffic or something to that extent for us to get a current address for her, and that way she could be served. Well, that chase was for 14 years. 14-year chase. Actually, I'm lying. That chase was, he was about 13 years, 13, 12 years, because I got back with, I caught her with a page on Facebook. But, and what me and my coworker was debating is that, the laws don't support fathers. they don't support fathers, because all fathers, some men drop the ball, but when you have a man that is determined to be in his child life, or her, whether he have a boy or a girl, but wants to be in his child's life, they should be given the same type of haste when that child is taken from him, or when the mother purposely keeps that child, pawns that child to kind of get back at the father. And I found out later that was the reason why she left. That, when she had our son, I gave her my apartment. I moved in with my parents because I gave her a vehicle. At the time, I had a business. My business was doing well. So I provided a platform, and when I gave her my apartment, I said, "You don't have to pay no rent. Finish school," because she was going to school. And I was like, "Well, finish school." And I just wanted to be in my son's life, and all I asked her was if you date somebody, go to his place, because it was my apartment. I still had a safe. I had at that time firearms, and I just told her I knew the guys, and she wasn't from my area. She wasn't from the walk of life I know. And I say, look, these dudes slick. They plot on you, get cozy with you, and then have some dudes come in there and run through the whole house. So that was the only reason I was like, look, if you meet somebody, get to know them, go see them where they are. Don't bring them to the apartment. And it wasn't no power trip like, I don't want you dealing with nobody and whatever, because I had met somebody, which was my wife at the time. And me and her was, our relationship was dissolved. We just found out she just got pregnant, and that was the complication, that she ended up getting pregnant right at the end of the relationship. So I tried to make it easy for her to, stay in town, don't go back home, and give her the amenities that she needed so she can be successful at finishing school. But no, the thing I didn't know was she already had a plot, and I found this out from her aunt that was down in my area, was married to a guy that came to talk to me, because he said the whole thing was foul. And he told me, he said they had put that plot in place soon as she had the little man. That they wanted her, that her mom sent her a plane ticket immediately. And the reason she did not go is because how sentimental I was when I asked her to stay. And so she stayed because of that. But when I met my wife, and then a year later, me and my wife had our first child, she was like, nah, you ain't gonna get your cake and eat it too. You're not gonna have it your way. And her mom convinced her, and her aunt convinced her, why are you giving in to everything he wants? You need to start your life. And I understand, you just start your life. And I'm as a man, I admit, I was being selfish. But if she wanted to go, I would have let her go. And I just wanted to make sure we established the visitation properly. I had no problem with, I don't want to impede nobody's life, never. And I had no problem with somebody, because she was a good woman. She wasn't a bad person. Let me get that straight. She did something wrong, but I understood later on why she made the move the way she did. But I just wish you to talk to me. Like I said, when a man, this goes out to, my ladies, the women that may come across this. I understand you got to not let a man take advantage of you in certain situations. But please don't impede a man from being a father if he's a good man. I'm not talking about the cuckoo dudes and these crazy dudes. I'm talking about really, when you got a guy that really loves his child. Because it's so important, because my wife was a special ed teacher. And sometimes she come on crying because she just so passionate about helping these kids. And she done had so many kids declassified. And that means that they come to her special ed. She worked with them through that year, and by the time they leave her, they're no longer classified as special ed. But the system is not there. The system is not in place to help a lot of kids that have problems. They just sweep them under the rug and push them along and just kind of pretty much babysit them instead of giving them the tools they need to survive in this world. Because this world, y'all know, and all the adults know, this world is hungry. And it eats. And it'll eat and eat and eat at you. It try to eat you alive. And when you got a man that's, whether y'all made it or not, y'all try to come to a medium point where y'all can at least do what's best for the little ones. That child, that gift God has given y'all, that y'all brought into this world. Share that responsibility equally. But don't hamstring a man from being a good father. Even if he couldn't be a good man, but at least if he's willing to be a good father, don't impede him. Let him shine, because that relationship right there is what that child may need so he can grow into something great. Because you don't know what your child is going to do in this world. And you might you might have just gave birth, and y'all might have something that's going to come out here and solve all the problems. But when you handicap that child with a bunch of thoughts in their head, because they're going to come. My dad wasn't in my life, so they're going to come. What's wrong? And I found out my first son was lied to, and they told him, because I actually spoke with his stepfather. I caught up with him, long story, another video. But he was lied to and was told that I knew who he was and I didn't want him. And it crushed me. And when I finally did reach out, found him himself, reached out to him, he wanted nothing to do with me. And I was confused. But I understand when you're brainwashed, sometimes you can't get past that. But at the end of the day, we can't be selfish. Even like me in the beginning, I was being selfish because I wanted her to. I just wanted everything my way. I wasn't thinking about what, I don't care where she went across the globe. I'm going to still try to make a way to be a good father. And I've just, don't take that from your child if his biological wants to be there, or her biological wants to be there, and he's not an idiot, make a way. Y'all make that work, because we don't have them growing up thinking that they're not worthy, they're not special enough. So what's wrong? They're gonna look in the mirror, and they're gonna see other kids with their fathers, and somebody, they're gonna wonder, what was wrong with me? Why my dad or why my mom didn't want me? Forever, because this pertains to mothers and fathers. So it's some cuckoo guys that got certain situations, they got cussing, and they doing the same thing. Mama might have been out there wilding and got herself together, and they try to, in the best interest of the child, always keep the child safe. But like I said, if you got a parent that's trying to be a parent, don't handicap them, because at the end of the day, the child is going to get hurt. And I'm taking it from somebody. I'm not theorizing. I'm telling you first person experience. Talk to you later. Peace.